Hi everybody! Today we as students of 4th year in UNCGFS are going to present a short show about Nordic European culture. In the context of intercultural management supervised by our dear teacher Mr. Elwani, in this video we try to give a brief form of the way of life, key values and how it's going on in this culture. The Scandinavian cultures of Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway and Sweden are built around a driving belief in John's law, a belief that says that people shouldn't see themselves as special or better than anyone else. In this video, you will learn about the northernmost cluster in the world, the Nordic culture. While many travelers and business people are familiar with European cultures, the ones in Scandinavia remain much less understood. But there are some fascinating things to discover about life in the Nordic world. Concerning the Nordic cluster, it includes countries also referred to as Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Norway and Denmark, but Finland and Iceland are also considered part of this area. Nordic culture remained largely unfamiliar to most of the rest of the world. But there are some very unique characteristics and great things about the culture that I will let you discover with the rest of my friends. Stay tuned.
Norway has been discussing dropping to work to 30 hours. This invasion on working less began because they believe that they will build a better society when people have a work life. IKEA and the custom against dressing with too much bling reflects something called Jan's law, an idea made popular by a Norwegian writer in the 1930s. The overarching rule of Jan's law is as follows: don't think you are anything special. It's hard to overstate how strongly this idea weaves through the Nordic cultures.
Modesty, equality, and humility are all expressions of Jan's law. All people are on equal footing. Don't think big, criticize others, or flaunt your wealth or accomplishments. This is why the custom of dressing neatly and sharp, but without too much bling, is critical to being accepted in Nordic culture. In the United States, we tell children from the youngest age, you are special and you can be whatever you want. A similar doting over children exists in many European, Arab, and Asian cultures around the world. In Nordic culture, it's all about finding ways to pursue your individual interests while making sure that everyone has the opportunity to do that. There's been a growing movement across Nordic cultures to explore pan-Nordic identity. As with each of the global clusters, there are clearly some differences among the countries. But when viewed in contrast to the rest of the world, you see some profound similarities among the clusters as a whole. When you look at Scandinavian design furniture, architecture, and fashion, you see an aspect of hip, cool, and minimalism. Just think of some of the most noteworthy Swedish brands: Volvo cars, IKEA furniture, and H&M clothing, all of which are functional but not over the top. Functionalism and minimalism in Nordic cultures are a reflection of Jan's law.
Let's see what the cultural values dimension best describe the Nordic cluster. People living in the Nordic countries were driven by figuring out how to survive cold, harsh natural conditions of their environment. Summers are short and winters included limited periods of sunshine and many months of cold and snow. They fit their lifestyle to the seasonal changes. So, what do we find in the Nordic culture? The Nordic culture is more individualist than collectivist. There is a commitment to allow each person to do as they wish. But the Nordic culture doesn't look as individualistic as the England cluster does, because there is a greater attention placed to the needs of the whole than what you usually find in individualist culture. But the differences in the Nordic cluster
The priority of not thinking you're something special is to ensure that everyone gets the chance to pursue their individual interests. So the primary concern is promoting autonomy and individual choice. The Nordic countries are also low power distance. They resist hierarchy and avoid creating distinctions between people according to the status. Leaders don't play directive, authoritative style, and there is incredible distaste for inequality. Growing number of immigrants moved to Scandinavia. Most of these immigrants came from collectivist and high power distance culture. So the government tried to figure out how to make them feel like it's their home. The other crucial thing about Nordic culture is its strong orientation for the being despite of the being doing. This is the culture to mention strongly. There is a strong belief in the importance of working to live rather than the living to work.
We are going to mention a few examples of some of which we have talked about previously. In Nordic cultures, most Nordic businesses are closed for the month of July. In fact, 20% of police stations close down during the summer months because so few people remain in the city. And in Sweden, every employee, including graduate students, gets 5 weeks of paid vacation, 3 of which can consecutive if desired. This is not just because they want to be generous with labor and workers, they actually believe they will build a better society when people have a whole life. A related characteristic of Nordic culture is the commitment to protect the natural environments. Nature plays a big role in Norwegians' lives, and a lot of their non-work time is spent outdoors. This is one of the primary differences between the Nordic cluster and the Anglo cluster, especially the United States. Nordic cultures view environmentalism as a high value. Cooperative, working together is the best way to accomplish results, which means that the success of the team is more important than individual achievement. It's all about teamwork, and without it, there is no culture. When the culture is strong, you can trust everyone to do the right thing. People can be independent and autonomous. Low context. In low context communication, more of the information in a message is spelled out and defined. They would be free to say wherever they think about each other's.
In the Nordic European countries are the functionalism is seen among the Finns, who are the kings of the practical-functional style. They prefer to just use the simplest vision of what's needed. Swedes take an easier approach and have more concern about artistic qualities. Also, Swedes are comfortable with silence in communication as compared to Norwegians, who typically aren't. But both are very direct, although Danes are the most direct of all. They tend to respect rules strictly and do not blend the dependent on the person. Lifestyle in general is very family-oriented. Most people love the outdoors and being active, and the pace is much slower than in the United States. A theme that is different from many other clusters is that the Nordic cluster is anti-religious. It's not that religion is a bad thing, it's just that religion is a thing that most people don't take in part or understand. For example, 85% of Swedes are atheists.
If you want to rile up in Norwich or Dane, just tell them that they are socialists. For many of us, it could be hard to characterize them as anything other than that. The government sends you a completely filled out tax form, and if it looks good, you just go online and click OK to pay your taxes. Taxes are generally between 50 and 70% of your income. Of course, your employer already pays the full amount of your salary to the government in taxes before you even get anything. They see themselves as being simultaneously committed to social equality and to profitability and efficiency, and it's hard to argue with the results. The Nordic countries have done remarkably well for decades when it comes to achieving social goals of equality and worker security, without the costs of inefficiency that are typically equated with these kinds of endeavors. Despite the individualist orientation, there is a strong orientation toward equality. There is the less disparity between rich and poor in Nordic cultures. This has nothing to do with total wealth or even the average per capita income of individuals. There are differences within the region. There is a lot of competition that exists among the countries in the cluster. Each will appreciate if you understand that they aren't all the same.